Um, Madonna's publicist was hi Sue, was Liz Rosenberg, and her being the explosive media phenomenon she was attributable to Liz as being totally on the case, but she couldn't be everywhere at all times. So she asked me to kind of babysit Madonna once to a crew from NHK TV in Japan was going to give her an award or do an interview, I can't remember exactly what, up in the Bird Streets at that time. It's before she lived in the C&E's Tower in Los Feliz.
I love that building. I used to live there myself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Anyway, it was on Oriole Way, or Blue Jay Way. But anyway, I went up there. It was a Saturday, and I took my middle son along, Ben, who now works with me. It's amazing. And we went up there, and Madonna, before the Japanese news crew showed up, she said, "You gotta see this thing. It's the greatest invention ever." And it's a little figure of a head of a man that agrees with you. It's called,
and it's not me.
It's not you. It's called the Yes Man, and it's a novelty toy, and you say something to it, and it says, "I couldn't agree with you more," or "That's a great idea. I wish I'd thought of it."
I worked with that guy. Yeah, for sure.
And she was, and in a way, she was lampooning herself. She's surrounded by yes men, and she said, "Look, I got a real one now. Who's going to deny her anything, right?" So anyway, ultimately, she did the interview with the Japanese TV crew, and my son and I kibitzed with her a little bit more, and then it was time to go. And we were driving down the hill. It's above the Strip, a meandering street, and I heard a little muffled version of, "I couldn't agree with you more."
Oh, my God.
I wish I'd thought of that. And I stopped the car. I said, "What's going on here?" And Benji said, "I stole the Yes Man." I said, "This will not stand. You can't steal Madonna's Yes Man. She will be pissed." And I was, skinny street, and I was backing the car up and back to work it back up the hill, and he said, "No, she told me to tell you why I stole it. She gave it to me."
Oh.
So she just did that to fuck with me.
All right.
What do you think?
I couldn't agree with you more completely.
All right. Is she a great star or what?
Oh, yeah, I'm behind you all the way.
That's the Madonna story. And
All right. Very good. All right. So
this isn't the actual one. He lost it over the years. So thanks to the miracle of the internet, I got one in like 3 days. It was great. Just cost me $350.
it's like no Amazon Prime on that, I guess.
No.
Okay. All right. So so you've got another great story. It was involving some flammable stuff that, why don't you take it?
I have two flammable stories.
Okay, go for it. You take them in order.
I have. Well, we'll do it chronologically. When I first got to Warner Brothers in the early 70s, I worked for the company in New York, which, even though it's a Burbank-based company, that's where the home office for publicity was. And we used to have a really great relationship with Shep Gordon, because after Alice Cooper broke out, he was always scheming about, like promotional stunts and things that could possibly make news. And then news came to him unsolicited. Alice Cooper's "School's Out," the song was becoming a big hit towards the end of the summer. Towards the end of the spring, when schools literally were out. So the timing was great. I guess it was released maybe in April or May, but by June it was really cresting, and there was going to be a School's Out album, and a lot of thought went into the look of this album. The cover was a hacked up school desk with nasty things, not PG nasty
my school
things.
desk, actually.
Yes, your school, Mitch's school desk. And, of course, the main track was "School's Out." And it was somebody's idea, and I'd like to attribute it to Alice, but it's unknown to me, really, to wrap the album with disposable panties as the inner sleeve of the album. And it was explained to me, who went to an all-boys school, so I never had this, that on the last day of school, all the guys drive around, I didn't have a car either, with their girlfriend's panties on the radio
We all did
antennas.
that. We all did that.
Is this a thing?
No.
And I had to explain this to
All the
people
time.
like it was a thing, but maybe it was. Anyway. But the production department at Warner Brothers said there's a giant glitch in our ability to complete this album, to manufacture it, because the panties, disposable paper panties, which were manufactured in Israel, of course.
That's where I get all my disposable
Right.
panties, just so you know.
The U.S. Customs Service said they do not meet federal flammability standards, and there's a big issue here. They will not let them come out of the port to wherever Warner Brothers records were collated and pressed and so on.
I got a little burning sensation.
Yeah. So anyway, at Shep and Alice's urging, I tried to make the most of this setback, and I called somebody at the U.S. Customs Service and asked about this flammability standard, and I was told that, I knew what the material was. I said, this is the same material that surgeons use for their surgical masks and the hats and so on. They said, absolutely. And are those treated for, flammability? No, they're not. I said, so in other words, if you wore these panties on your head or on your face, it would be legal. They said, yes, it actually would be, because they were. So I wrote a press release, and I had a friend at the Washington Post who enjoyed this idea, and the headline of it was Alice Cooper's Underpants on Fire, and ultimately, I really don't know how it turned out. The album did come out, and I have one, and we borrowed this from a record store.
Wow.
It's $190.
Okay.
See, I'm always putting a price on
Anybody got a
things.
match? There it is. That's right. That's the one.
I have to get this. Oh, it's only $60, but
Okay.
I have to give it back, and it's not shown right. It's on the front to show that it's part of the package. It would go around the record itself. So there you go.
And all right, great. And of course, no teenage boys liked seeing panties inside a record album at that time.
Yeah.
We didn't like that at all. Yeah.
And I had this album. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
And the CD too small, so forget it.
So you're all about flames, though. So
Yes.
you got a couple of
I
stories.
got
so
another.
get
I got the
real-
last
real
one,
quick,
and then
yeah.
I'll be on my way. At the end of his career at Motown, Rick James, a dear man,
It's a very
was signed to Warner Brothers, which had a habit of signing people after their glory years were behind them. But it worked for Fleetwood Mac, so it can
Okay,
work.
bad example, but
And we had Little Richard, so who cares? Just
when I talked to Bob, by the way, and I saw everything coming through, I was on the ground. It's like, I didn't even know Rick James was on Warner Brothers. Like, really? I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was 1988, an album called Wonderful, and it wasn't. But, we made an effort, and to introduce the album to the company, a big party was planned in our wonderful conference room. A. Quincy Jones design, not Quincy Jones, A. Quincy Jones, the architect, wonderful. And a giant spread of Mexican food from the finest Mexican caterer anybody could think of. And Rick and his entourage showed up, and it really looked like, a hooker kind of thing in some way, but, no judgment.
Not there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
I'm just saying.
Someone grabbed me and said, Rick is beside himself with nervousness. He was nervous. And we want you to drive him around while the album is being played for the company, because he won't know what to do with himself while everybody's listening to his album. Okay, so I was Rick James's babysitter. I said, what do you want to do, Rick? He said, boy, I'd like to have some lunch. How about Mexican food? I said, you just left the best Mexican food you could possibly have. So I took Rick to Del Taco.
All right. Don't be hating on Del Taco, dude. Don't be hating on Del Taco.
And I submitted an expense report.
So, and what did Rick get?
Rick had some kind of burrito or taco. I really
Quesadilla
I didn't eat it 'cause
snacker? Did he go quesadilla snacker,
I
or
knew
did
I
he
was
do
gonna
the-
go back to the conference room and have good food.
You didn't
So-
do the not macho combo or anything
No,
like
I
that?
don't remember
Okay.
what it was. I'm getting to that. So anyway, I was driving him back, and he lit a cigarette. He was eating his taco and trying to light and smoke a cigarette at the same time, multitasker. And he dropped the cigarette on his pants, and they ignited. So there's a little flame shooting up next to me in my BMW
Got flames,
2002. No air conditioning, so the wind's coming through the air, through the windows.
I got flames,
and
man.
Rick's on fire doing this, you know. He puts the fire out. We get back to Warner Brothers, and they play the record again. But now he's not nervous because he's really been through the fire. And he dances with his escort, and everything was wonderful, like the album title, except nobody bought a copy. But in researching this story, I wanted to find out what year the album came out. I looked at the tune stack from the album, and there was actually a song on it called Love's Fire. Here it is. Where's it come out?
That's good. All right. Perfect.
I've
right.
listened to this so much, I kind of like it now.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Bob Merlis, give Bob a big hand. Thank you. All right.